What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be looking at the 3 plays that would have changed the Detroit Lions season so far in this season. We're also going to be kind of taking a look at one play from each game that has really defined that game and that caused the outcome of that game. Okay, we're going to be throwing it in a little bit because I put up a poll and about 30% of you guys said you wanted to see that video instead. So I'm just going to kind of throw that into this video, but we're mainly going to be focusing on the 3 plays that would have changed the Detroit Lions season so far. I don't think they're out of anything right now. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get it started. Yes, I don't think Detroit Lions are out of anything now. I obviously believe in them. I know a lot of you guys don't, but that's okay. It's all good. Some of you guys do. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 3 plays so far this season that would have changed the Detroit Lions outlook of the season if they would have been different, okay? Now, the first one that we're going to be looking at coming in at number 3 isn't as impactful as the next 2. And the reason is, well, you'll hear why the reason. The reason that it comes in number 3, there was definitely a lot of options to put here. After I go through these 3, we will talk a little bit about every single game and what play could have defined those games. But coming in at number 3, I have the opening week of the season against the Arizona Cardinals. So we go to Arizona, a team that was really bad last year. They right now have 3 wins on the season. So they're very similar to us, actually. And this game ended up being a tie when the Detroit Lions led 24-6 in the fourth quarter. They kind of blew that lead. They ended up going into overtime and ended up with a tie. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, how is a tie that impactful? Like I said, it comes to number 3, so it's not as impactful as the first 2, but it is a very, very big momentum swing to go from leading by 18 in the fourth quarter, again, in your opening game, to go from leading by 18 in the fourth quarter to tying the football game. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, what play am I thinking of here? What play am I thinking of? Am I thinking of a pass from Kyler Murray? No. Actually, what I'm thinking of in this game is the Detroit Lions' attempt to score a touchdown, but it fell incomplete, okay? So if you go back to the first game of the season for the Detroit Lions against Arizona, like I said, they blew a huge lead. They ended up going to overtime, and all of the momentum was on Arizona, as you would expect, the team that just came back from 18 down. All of the momentum was on their sides. So the Detroit Lions had no momentum going into overtime, and right away the Arizona Cardinals just start moving it down the field. It didn't seem like we were going to be able to stop them. They had all the momentum. We weren't able to stop them in the fourth quarter. It didn't look like we were going to be able to stop them in overtime. And they got really, really close to scoring range, right? They got in the red zone, and it was like, oh no, okay, we're really about to lose this game. But the Detroit Lions stood tall. I know a lot of people want to look at this game and say, you know, we blew it, we didn't fight in this game, but I think there's a little bit of good to take out of this game. It definitely wasn't good that we tied this football team, especially after having a lead like that. But the way they fought back and held them to a field goal here was huge, because the Detroit Lions were able to hold them to a field goal, a team that looked like there was no possible way they were going to stop the Arizona Cardinals. Well, they held them to a field goal, and now the Detroit Lions offense gets back on the field, and they either have to tie or win the game on this possession. So Matthew Stafford and the Lions offense goes out there. They start moving the ball down the field as well. It comes down to a 3rd and 7, again, in overtime, and Stafford has a chance to make a play to beat the Arizona Cardinals, okay? After a terrible fourth quarter, after all of the momentum on Arizona's side, Matthew Stafford is going to have a chance to take all of that momentum away, forget about everything, and we're going to leave here with a win and start off the season 1-0, and that just makes everybody feel so much better. But that is not the case. Matthew Stafford gets it, rolls to his left, and they run basically a post pattern to act to the other side of the field, to the right side. So Stafford rolling left, throws it back across the field to the right side of the field, and it is incomplete. He threw it over to Kenny Galladay, a great play by the defender, and that caused the Detroit Lions to take a field goal and just settle for a tie. After that, the Lions defense got another stop, but there just wasn't enough time. The time actually ended up expiring, and the Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals started off with a tie of the season. Again, sometimes ties can come back to bite you. Other times they can actually be a good thing. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes they can. But this would have been a huge difference if the Detroit Lions would have got this win. But again, it's not as important as these next 2 that I'm going to talk about. Detroit Lions against the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, now I know some games this year we want to look at it and be like, oh wow, we got really cheated here. And you could look at some plays here that were very controversial. I mean, we fumbled at the 1-yard line, and if you want to say, well, the play should have blown dead or whatever, the fact is we bounced back like crazy, and we took back control of that game. So that was okay. But here was where the big play happened. So the Detroit Lions get the ball. They're down by 3. Matthew Stafford leads them down for a touchdown. They go up 34-30 over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, this is when Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were undefeated before he went down with an injury. So the Lions, with what a lot of people said was their first big challenge of the year, or maybe potential Super Bowl team in the Kansas City Chiefs this year? Well, they get the ball back, and it comes down to a 4th and 8 after an incomplete pass by Patrick Mahomes. Now, keep in mind here, the Detroit Lions are coming into this game at 2-0-1. They've won their last 2 games after the crazy tie. So again, if that tie doesn't happen, if you win that game, you are 3-0 going into this game. I think that's why that's super important. Now, you can make arguments that that one shouldn't be on the list. You can say that the Raiders game and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in a second. 2 unbeaten teams are playing here, Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. So it comes down to a 4th and 8 with less than 2 minutes to go, and only 1 timeout remains for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're on their own side of the field. So basically what that means is if they don't get this, the game is over, and it comes down to this final play. Well, I watched this play back a few times, and I'm not sure if this was supposed to happen, but it just didn't seem right. Either way, they come out obviously to pass, and Patrick Mahomes didn't have anything downfield. The Detroit Lions brought 4, they dropped everyone else. There was no options to throw to. So Patrick Mahomes decided to take off and scramble. And what happened? Well, I'm sure you could guess it. He had the first down, and they ended up actually going down on that drive and scoring a touchdown. And I watched that playback. What I see is that if you watch the running back out of that Kansas City play, you will see that the running back, if you guys want to watch this back, you can. I can't put it over here because of copyright issues. But if you guys want to watch it back, you can. But basically, 2 linebackers took away the running back, and that caused an open lane for Patrick Mahomes to just squirt right through the middle. He was able to run for a first down into about midfield. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive because of some wacky stuff, but they scored a touchdown, and it only gave Matthew Stafford a very, very small amount of time. And honestly, if you'd have had a little bit more time, you probably would have went down to 1. We had 1 big play over the middle to get us in a Hail Mary situation. Obviously, some people were talking about, hey, there should have been pass interference on the Hail Mary. I'm not going to get into that. But what it does mean is that the Detroit Lions could have got that stop on 4th and 8. They would currently be sitting 3-0-1. They would have been 3-0-1 at the time. So you can imagine how much momentum that is going into the Green Bay Packers game against your divisional team, knowing that, hey, we just beat maybe the best team in football. Now we're recognized as the best team in football because of that. The Lions did get a lot of respect after the loss, but a win would have been a completely different situation. So the Detroit Lions lost this one as well. You look at the first 2, 1 play in each of those games are really deciding. Here, coming in at number 1, I think this is the biggest one so far. You guys have probably all guessed exactly what was coming in here, and that is the Green Bay Packers game. So basically, the Detroit Lions are playing the Green Bay Packers. Lions sit at 2-1-1, going to play the Green Bay Packers, who sit at 4-1. So this was definitely a really big matchup. As we know, it was a Monday Night Football game. It was crazy, and it was in Green Bay, and the Detroit Lions played really, really well. They came out with a flea flicker to get everything started. The hype was building. It was an insane environment, and it looked like the Detroit Lions were going to beat the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. But wait, hold up, stop. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. You got to stop right there because that's not what's going to happen because the ref said no. But seriously, listen to this. So basically, the Detroit Lions are coming into this game again 2-1. They could be undefeated at this time, playing a 4-1 Green Bay Packers team. So this win would have put the Lions to 3-1 and dropped the Packers to 4-2, which at this time would be huge because right now you're trying to catch the Packers in this divisional race and giving them an extra loss, which if you added it onto them now, they would have 3 losses, and we would currently only have 3 losses. So you could see how big of a difference this one game was, that there is a difference between literally being a game away from leading the division all the way to where we are now, where we need the Packers to lose a few games and we basically have to run the table. That is how impactful this game was. Okay, that is how impactful these missed calls were. And I'm not trying to blow up on the refs, but if this would have had a different outcome, if this wouldn't have been a flag, if these would have stood, if some way these could have been picked up, I don't know.
Never in the history seen one turned over.
If something would have happened in our favor, there's a good chance we would have left Green Bay with the win. Now, I'm talking about 2 flags here. You guys know about the hands to the face flags on Trey Flowers. I'm not even going to talk about the missed pass interference, stuff like that, because you know what? That's judgment stuff. But this was just a complete missed call, 2 missed calls, and they were both hands to the face penalties. Now, I don't really want to get into that. I'm just saying that if the Detroit Lions would have won this game, it would have been huge. So I'm really talking about 2 plays here. You could focus on just one of the 2 if you want to, but the first one I'm talking about is with 10 minutes left in the game, Lions leading 22-13, which is a 9-point lead, a 2-score lead with 10 minutes to go, and the Green Bay Packers have it on a 3rd and 10. Okay, the Green Bay Packers have it on a 3rd and 10, and they get sacked out of field goal range, completely out of field goal range. So the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers already starting to walk off the field. They look like they're going to have to punt, give it back to Matthew Stafford, who at worst case scenario is probably going to take about 3 minutes off of the clock at worst case and give it back to them again, still down 9, but you never know. They could have sealed the deal in this, or they could have even added more points to the lead. But that didn't happen because first, they they had a hands to the face call on Trey Flowers, and then the second time was another hands to the face call, which happened on a third down. Now, this third down happened with 1:36 to go. So Detroit Lions currently had no timeouts left. There was a third down coming up. Green Bay Packers were in field goal range, so they would have had a field goal attempt anyways to take the lead. But basically, Aaron Rodgers had to throw it away. It was incomplete, so that stops the clock, and it would have been a fourth down with a field goal attempt to take the lead from about 40 yards out, I would say, about a 40-yard field goal, somewhere around that range. So that would have been the field goal attempt for Mason Crosby instead of the little chip shot from the 1-yard line that he had to take later in the game. Detroit Lions would have held them in a position to kick a field goal. And obviously, field goals are never 100%. And even if he makes it, you're giving Matthew Stafford the football back with Matt Prater. Matthew Stafford, who has been completely ridiculous this season, throwing already 19 touchdown passes. I just had to throw that in there. And obviously, Matt Prater may be the most clutch kicker in the NFL right now. Both of those guys, you can't tell me they wouldn't have got a field goal. They wouldn't have got a field goal to go in this game. I wouldn't have been surprised. Now, either way, these are two missed calls. I'm actually going to focus more on the first one, the sack, because I think if this is a sack and the Lions get the ball back up by 9 with 10 minutes to go, that means the Lions have a really good chance to seal this deal. And if the Lions do seal this deal, they jump to 3-1-1. Like I said, it's the difference between being down a half of game in the divisional race right now with a win already over Green Bay and needing the Packers to lose in multiple games, and you basically have to run the table to get in. I know I'm not trying to overreact to that one play, and I don't want to go back to it. I'm trying to forget about it, and that's why I say I think everything's still in front of them. They can still accomplish what they have to accomplish. They just need some help, but I'm not out of this. When I looked at the Lions, I say it's simply, if you played the NFL 3-word game, I would make it like this for the Detroit Lions. One play away. The Detroit Lions are one play away, and even in the games they've won, they've been one play that has really decided them. Let's go through every game, okay? The Cardinals game. Like I said, the Detroit Lions dropped touchdown pass. Now, great defense. If that's the touchdown, you're 1-0. It's that one play left. Then you can go to week 2 against the Chargers, and you could say that's the Darius Slay interception, the one that sealed the deal. A guy in Keenan Allen that has been burning him all day. Darius Slay slid over. He got the interception. They basically double-teamed him in the end zone. Phillip Rivers threw it. An interception sealed the deal. One play. You go to the next game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles had a chance to win this game throwing a bomb, but basically just completely dropped what would have been maybe a touchdown or at least at the 1-yard line. Instead, it was incomplete. The Detroit Lions take a knee, and they win the game. One play, okay? So again, the first 3 games, all one play. Then you look at the Chiefs game. Like I said, one play away. The Detroit Lions could have got to stop in 4th and 8. They win that game. Then the Packers game, one play away. If it wasn't for that pass, hands to the face call, there's a very good chance they can win it. Maybe not 100%, but there's a very good chance. If you look after the Packers game, if you look to the Vikings game, like I said, okay, the Vikings game was maybe the one that you could call an exception. The only play I would look at here is when the Lions scored late in this game, and it was a 35-30 game, and the Detroit Lions basically put everybody in the box to stop the run, and he threw a bomb 1-on-1, and our corner just got completely burnt, and they got the first down, and that basically ended. The Detroit Lions get to stop there. Matthew Stafford, who already had 4 touchdown passes on the day, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was able to go down and get a touchdown just like he did the drive before. One play. The Giants game. I think this one's a little bit harder to find one play that really decided this game. I didn't go too much into it because that's not the video we're doing, but I don't know if there's necessarily one play that decided this game. I think there was a lot of big momentum shifts, but I mean, I guess you could throw it to the onside attempt. I don't really know. And then in the final game, obviously our last game that we just played against the Raiders, the one play in that game was either the Detroit Lions one play at the 1-yard line, or it was the fact that we dropped an interception that would have gave us the ball back with a tied game. So all of these games, the Detroit Lions could be summed up as one play away. And that's why I believe. Now, you guys have to keep this in mind. T brought it to my attention that I should bring this up. When you guys always freak out, you're like, why do you believe so much? This team does not give you any reason to believe. I think it's because a lot of you guys, for one, are older than me. And if you think about when I started watching the Detroit Lions, what I've been through compared to what some of you have been through, I really feel for you guys because I haven't been through nearly as much bad that you have. And I'm not saying that that's a reason that you should be negative, but again, I understand you guys completely because I haven't been through it as much as some of you guys have. Now, some I've actually been through more than you. Some of you guys are younger than me, but not everybody here. So some of you guys that have been through years and years of not even getting on TV, to me, who really the furthest moments I can remember, like a complete season, would have been like 2010. That's like the first season I can remember in whole. I kind of remember Matthew Stafford getting drafted, but that's basically it. I mean, you got to think I was really, really young. I couldn't tell a preseason game from a regular season game apart.
Stupid kid.
All I knew is whether they won or they lost. In 2011, I remember every single game. I remember really every single big play that happened, all of the crazy comebacks. Matthew Stafford's insane here. And since then, obviously, I've remembered everything. But if you go back to just 2010, you got to think of what I've been through. That's 9 football seasons, and 3 of those have been playoffs. In the years that don't make the playoffs, for me, they're usually competitive, at least to the point where they're about to make the playoffs or not. And when I look around the league in the last decade, there have been way more teams that have been through a lot more than I have, right? The Browns, oh my gosh, they haven't been to the playoffs since 2002. I was born a little bit before that, but they haven't done anything since I've been watching football, right? From this I can remember, I haven't remembered the Browns ever doing anything remotely good, and that's not a hate against the Browns. That's just, you guys have to keep in perspective why I'm so positive all the time, okay? Maybe that helps a little bit. Maybe that means something to you. I mean, look at the Bengals, for example, right? You know what I'm saying? The Bills. Like, I mean, seriously, if you guys think about it for a second, the Lions haven't been that terrible in the last decade, where for me personally, if that's all you've really seen, that you would say, oh, wow, I don't believe in this team at all. Because for me personally, I've seen a few playoff appearances, which honestly, in the last 3 playoff appearances, we haven't had many up to this point. So I just wanted to give you guys that quick little disclaimer of maybe that's why I'm a little bit more positive and optimistic. I think I'm still going to be like this forever. I think that's just how it's going to be. I just believe in this team. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is. Okay, some of you guys have your own theories. Go for it, all right? Give me your theories in the comments below. But basically, I just want to go through this. The 3 plays that would have changed Detroit Lions season. The touchdown pass versus the Arizona Cardinals that was incomplete. The Kansas City game where we couldn't get a stop on 4th and 8, and the Green Bay Packers game where we had the first hands to the face penalty. Not even the second one. You can count the second one either or. And then obviously through every game, we've really been consistently looking like a team that is one play. Either it's one play away from winning or it's one play that we won on. So there you go. That's why I believe, I guess. Let me hear your thoughts and comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.